How are you, you glorious nation out there? I'm your boyfriend, George Stroumboulopoulos. Welcome to the program. As you saw right off the top, you cannot trust a man who does not put a tea cozy on his head or elsewhere. When left alone with it, the man who said those sage words, the great Billy Connolly, returns to the program. Very excited to have Billy on. Listen, Billy, here's the thing. This is an unscripted interview show. Billy's an unscripted guest. Anything could happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but anything could happen on this program, so I'm very excited to have him on here. Also on the show, what else is going to happen in the next 30 minutes is last night we showed you those controversial photographs, the art exhibit done by a Canadian photographer, including this one here. Remember this? The kids sort of, playing, doing the 9/11 scene, like the modern-day cops and robbers, if you will. The guy that took those photographs is going to be on our show today. Should your kids be sheltered from these images? What's the point he's trying to make tonight? He will be on the show, so that's all on the way. And I got to tell you, an awful lot happened, so let's deal with today. That's your debrief. All right. So, one other thing. Last night on the program, we showed those photos. We showed one off the top already, the 9/11 stuff. Here's a couple other photos this photographer took. Kids are reenacting the Abu Ghraib prison torture. There's also this one here, a child reenacting the Governor General eating a seal heart. They're part of this exhibit in Ottawa, right? And we've got the photographer who took them, just ask him some questions. Jonathan Hobin is with us right now. Jonathan, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
Hey, first of all, happy birthday. I think today's your birthday, right?
Yes, thank you very much.
Well done. All right, so this, I'm sure you knew this exhibit was going to create a lot of controversy. The question I have for you is, why did you do it?
Well, I wasn't actually sure that it would create so much controversy. I knew that people would kind of be upset with the subject matter and just respond because I'm using children. But I really thought that the majority of people would see the images, understand where I'm coming from, and just think it was an interesting exhibit.
Where are you coming from? To you, what is the point of this?
Well, I think most of my work is about childhood experience and kind of not ignoring the fact that childhood can often be a really dark experience. And I feel like coming from a respectable place, I feel it's important to acknowledge that childhood is not always wonderful and whimsical, and sometimes it is sad and tragic. And kids do see some of the horrible things in this world, and I think it's impossible to I think it's important to reflect what kids see and understand how the world appears to them.
And, obviously you're showing playtime with kids, and this, I sort of alluded to it off the top. It's kind of like a more extreme version of when kids used to play cops and robbers back in the day, or even cowboys and Indians, which, in retrospect was completely not appropriate.
For sure. I mean, kids historically have always reflected the culture and what they experience in their play. In fact, science suggests that kids use play as a tool to process and understand the world around them. It's a necessary tool to socialize children. So I felt like if you were going to reflect society, the first place to look would be in kids' play.
Now, the thing is this, you're depicting events that are still very real and very painful for a lot of people, and they don't see how playtime applies to 9/11 or even Abu Ghraib. Do you have a bigger responsibility as an artist when you're depicting events that are clearly still very tender for a lot of people?
Well, I mean, I didn't create this work in 2001. This is stuff, it has been 3 years in the making, so I've had a lot of time to reflect on the process, but I waited a significant amount of time, and I felt like everyone has a right to express their feelings about those events. And plus, regardless of how people feel, kids are growing up witnessing these events. They're very real. And the whole point is really, don't stick your head in the sand, acknowledge what kids see, and it might be painful to have 9/11 and your child in the same sort of an image, but it's just the reality of the world we live in.
You think parents are just too sensitive these days?
I think that, well, if you look back at a different series I made, which is Mother Goose, which explores the darker side of nursery rhymes, in that culture, people use nursery rhymes as a tool to basically, prevent kids from a certain behavior. So it's like, if you do this, you'll be punished in this way. And they had no problem with scaring kids. And we've kind of gone the exact opposite direction, where we've become so overly politically correct that we'd rather just ignore the problem and pretend it doesn't exist, rather than just sit down and have a conversation with our children.
Well done. Thank you for your time, man, and happy birthday again.
Thank you.
Jonathan Hobin, everybody. All right, up next, put your laughing pants on, because the big yin is here, the great Billy Connolly, right after this.